Over the past 75 years, more than 10,000 chemicals have entered our food supply, but the EU allows just 300 additives. At Thrive Market, we prioritize quality, banning over 1,000 ingredients found in conventional grocery stores. Our Healthy Swap scanner helps you find better versions of your pantry essentials without the junk, dyes, or fillers, and everything is delivered right to your doorstep. So shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health at thrivemarket.com/get started for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.
Where else can you get a new theme song and a new website all in 1 week?
Right here at Sackhead.
Sackhead's radio show, and probably a lot of other shows too. But that's not what's important.
And only if you have a Socko.
That's right. Another outstanding.
Outstanding. You know, we take the guy props. When he does something good, say outstanding. Don't continue to knock the guy down.
Well, you know what it is? We take a week off, and obviously I forget how to do the show. So
oh, yeah,
cool.
We had a great week off. Oh, such a vacation. It was so awesome.
What'd you do?
Yeah, I took a week off, apparently.
Just hanging out doing nothing, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Are you back?
This is my first night having coffee since the surgery, so it's that's pretty good.
Well, I think it's great. I can't even see your Adam's apple. I'm glad you got it done. And you know, I'm
what's weird though is you've been staring at my new tits all night. I mean, seriously.
Well, you know they're there. No, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're well.
Thanks.
You know, it's one of those things where I was worried that you were going to be okay, but I was more pissed off that we missed a week. So if you could schedule this stuff a little bit better next time.
Well, you know what's funny is I did schedule it on the day I scheduled it, thinking in my own twisted way that I would be man enough to be able to come back like a day and a half, 2 days later, and do a radio show.
And what happened?
I overshot.
Okay.
Apparently, and so it didn't happen. Yeah. Well, and I'm sorry for that. I was really bummed.
I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're well.
Because after some other stuff I've had done, seriously, I was like,
this wouldn't be so bad.
Seriously, come on.
You know, and it was what, an addictomy? Is that what surgery you had? I don't remember.
Really?
No, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're well. Socko's off to the right.
It was awesome. I had it done at the Sackhead Surgical Center.
Yeah, well, we've done a lot of dumped a lot of money into that to make sure that we're given the appropriate medical treatment, and it's all by private donors.
Right.
So that's
excellent. It doesn't fall under Obama's umbrella of doom.
Speaking of private donors, have you seen our new website?
Really? No Happy Thanksgiving or Valentine's Day?
I don't know. Happy Thanksgiving, Clint.
Thank you, Sean.
Did I forget it? 3 months ago? 4 months ago? I'm sorry. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's
I hope
Day.
you love the box of chocolates I got you.
I did. I ate them all already. It's great. Happy Valentine's Day to you, Socko.
Socko, I got you.
Blew me a kiss.
I got you a brand new body grooming kit for Socko, so hopefully he can shave a couple pounds of hair off.
He's kind of like a mix between Chewbacca and Sasquatch. if you can.
Chewbacca! Oh, man, that's too funny. And if you ever saw Socko, you'd know why. You're the hairiest.
Not to be like a monster.
No, not a monster. No, you're a hairy beast. I mean, come on, man.
Dude, you are everything that's man. That's exactly what it is. In the age of like super smelly colognes and guys like trying to become as metrosexual as possible and effeminate as possible, and I was thinking about this week because There's a great.
Why did you just smell your fingers?
Because I didn't know if I used the soap. There's a soap out now. It's called Men's Scent or something like that. I can't. But it's all like campfire smell. Like that's the soap instead of like bacon. Like it's log cabin.
So would you want to smell your fingers to see which one you smelled like?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Shame. It smells like shame. That's the problem.
Or butthole. Either one.
I took a nap. I don't know what got itchy. The Exceptional Conservative shows our chat and said because we were off last week, he had to see his therapist twice. So we apologize. Send your bill to Sacco at sackheadsradio.com, and we'll try to square up with that.
Probably not.
We have a lot to talk about this week.
We do?
No. We have,
okay. Look, I just came back to say hi.
You have no prep at all?
Yeah, no, I'm out. Look.
I have to give mad props to Sacco. Not only was the intro song, which he did himself, again, which our last intro song was Sacco,
yep.
But he did get the new website up this week. It looks fantastic, sackheadsradio.com. Check it out. He put a lot of work into it.
We've got a freaking technical genius.
I know.
He
really
makes
music, and we'll sell him to other people if need be.
No, we won't.
No.
I'll be your prostitute.
Yeah, we can.
No, we won't. And here's why.
Why?
Because if he's going to make anybody money, it's going to be us.
That's a good point.
Thank you.
But if we're renting him to other shows.
Renting him.
Right, not selling completely.
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
If we're whoring him out on other shows for a decent dime,
yeah,
we'd be like a technical pimp.
Not technically a pimp, but a technical pimp.
Hey, what are you doing
right now?
Yeah, what are you doing right now?
I'm just kind of looking at you, just waiting to get into some juicy tidbits that we have lined up for tonight.
Okay, what are you doing the 23rd?
I'm going to a huge rally.
Yeah? What's it going to be?
Seriously?
Yeah.
You know you're going to be there.
The Day of Resistance rally.
Yeah.
We're
going to be rallying the Tea Party base again. You know, our people. The people that actually love our show. You know, regular Americans who actually take care of their trash and clean up after themselves and don't get into fights or rape people in parks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's what you'd want to call
family friendly.
Normal people,
no,
regular people.
You can't say normal or regular. Oh yeah, we can because we're allowed to have our own thoughts on.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about? You insane Hollywood ass." So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly. But then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard to recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.
Okay.
For the time being.
For the time being.
You know, that'll go away eventually when we'll probably have. You know, how long before they regulate us online? Because we can say whatever we want online, which is one of the no FCC's involved.
Yeah.
So if I want to say
they tried net neutrality. They tried.
If I want to say I tripped coming up the stairs today and I look like a dumb shit,
right?
I could say that,
right?
Whereas if we were on terrestrial, we couldn't say that. So how soon do you think before they find a way to regulate what
they've already tried it?
But I mean, till it gets passed.
I don't think it'll get passed.
Oh, I think they're going to push it. I said
Obama's already pushed it. We've been through this. This is old.
I'm just saying it's only a matter of time. Listen.
It's not my job to listen. I am not a listener. I am a co-host.
The Day of Resistance rally, which is what we were originally talking about.
Is the banner like an afro and a fist?
No.
Is it like that kind of resistance?
Do you remember
Are
Saturday
we
Night Live
fighting against the man?
When Chris Rock used to do Nat X?
Yes. Is it like that?
He might not know anything about politics and how the world works and the Constitution or anything, but man, that was a great bit. He was funny as hell back in the day. No, go to DustinStockton.com. You can get the information on your local rallies. This isn't a paid promo. We just think it's a great idea and something people should get involved in
if they want.
So that would be awesome. And check it out. And I'm going to try to cover our local one and get out and mingle with the people and get some interviews and find out why people are there and their reaction to it. And then if there's any kind of protest, I'm going to talk to them as well.
You should be our man on the street.
I am. You know what? I am the man on the street.
Okay.
Remember when I went to the Occupy anniversary?
Yes.
And it was huge, and they were talking about it for weeks, and there's going to be all this stuff.
Oh, yeah, it was huge, big, all this blow up, and how many people were there?
There was one guy.
Right.
Everybody else was on break, is pretty much what he told me.
Yeah.
And I did the whole interview, and I realized he didn't have a clue why he was there.
Which is perfect.
It was worse than, it wasn't even like I could play it and be like, hey, this is the people you're dealing with. I walked away, and I felt bad for him.
No, I remember. I distinctly remember having this conversation with you.
Because I'm just like, well, I can't do it to the poor guy because he was a nice enough guy.
He didn't even know why he was there.
He didn't even know what he was there. He just wanted to hold a sign and hang out with some people who stunk.
Right.
So the problem was...
And then you walked up, so it worked out.
It worked out unbelievably. And it was that awkward moment where I asked him a few questions, realized he had no idea. He had to keep looking at the leaflets that he was handing out to know what he was talking about. So eventually I was like, so I'm going to end this now. And he was just like, yeah. And I was like, okay, thanks. He's like, hey, you're welcome.
Kind of like we're going to do with the show right now.
Pretty much how we get through each and every show. Moving on.
So listen, I wanted to, I was really kind of upset that we didn't get a chance to do the show last week because of me. I apologize again, but I really wanted to talk about Dr. Ben Carson.
Oh, well, yeah.
And his speech that he gave at with how many feet from President Obama?
About 4 feet. The problem is I don't think the president was awake for any of it.
Okay. Well, it happened during the National Prayer Breakfast speech, February 7th of this year, so just a couple weeks ago. He was the keynote speaker at the prayer breakfast, and just to give you an idea of what kind of wingnut this guy is. So that way everybody, because we actually have some clip that we're going to play. I have a good segment of the speech.
Yeah.
And just so people can discount him right now, right away, here's what kind of wingnut he is. He's a neurosurgeon and the director of pediatric neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins Hospital. So he's really
right, and that that hospital. I mean,
yeah,
that's
they hire anybody, really. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is the highest civilian award in the United States, and he was awarded that in 2008 by President George W. Bush. So you can discount that right away.
Right.
I mean, it was a president awarded it, yeah, but it was President Bush that did it. I mean, really, so it's not that big of a deal. So he basically gave his speech and railed.
It was outstanding.
Obama. Just feet from the guy.
It was fantastic.
You know what was fantastic about it was that we live in a country where, because he did it in a very respectful way. He wasn't he didn't use profanity. He wasn't disrespectful to the president or anything like that. He did it in a very respectful way, a very intelligent manner. And I would support somebody doing this on either party, whatever it was. But what the beauty is that we live in a country where somebody can express their views and can have it wasn't really a dialogue, but a monologue, literally feet from the president with somebody whom he fundamentally disagrees with. Yeah, and air his, not air his grievances, but discuss his concerns and the direction that he sees our country going, and then afterwards basically get the president was I guess very gracious by the reports that I read. Yeah, told him, hey, great speech, shook his hand, and so forth. And what a great country that we live in that somebody can do that. Do that off. And not end up getting shot. Or hung or dragged out or any of the above, which is funny because if we keep going the direction we are going, you know what, I won't even go down that road. No, I thought it was outstanding. I'm glad that the president at least handled it publicly in a gracious manner. It ate him out. Oh, it ate the hell out of him. There's that. He had that look on his face the whole time, almost like a little kid playing in a park and then some bully walked up and stabbed his ball and it just deflated. You ever seen that look? And that's the same look he had almost the entire time.
It was outstanding.
Well, I thought what was great is what he said to Neil Cavuto on Fox News in an interview with him, where he says somebody has to be courageous enough to stand up to the bullies. Now, I can assume who
he means is the bullies.
Yeah, who he means at the.
But he made some great points, and here's the clip now. This is Dr. Ben Carson at the National Prayer Breakfast.
What will maintain our position in the world? The ability to shoot a 25-foot jump shot or the ability to solve a quadratic equation? And we need to put the things into proper perspective. And, many teachers, Many teachers have told us when we put a Carson Scholar in their classroom.
The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly. But then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard to recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.
What you're hearing is Hardie Fiber Cement Siding living up to its reputation as the siding that helps resist weather damage, no matter what Mother Nature throws its way. James Hardie knows how important a reputation is, especially when you're a home builder. That's why Hardie products withstand the elements better than wood-based siding, with styles to match their strength. Because when home builders work with us, we deliver our best so they can look their best. Protect your reputation with exterior products by James Hardie.
The GPA of the whole class goes up over the next year. And it's been very gratifying. We started 16 years ago with 25 scholarships in Maryland. Now we've given out more than 5,000, and we're in all 50 states. But we also put in reading rooms. These are fascinating places that no little kid could possibly pass up. And they get points for the amount of time they spend in their reading, the number of books that they read, and they can trade them in for prizes. In the beginning, they do it for the prizes, but it doesn't take long before their academic performance begins to improve. And we particularly target Title I schools where kids come from homes with no books, and they go to schools with no libraries. Those are the ones who drop out, and we need to truncate that process early on. We can't afford to waste any of those young people. For every one of those people that we keep from going down that path of self-destruction and mediocrity, that's one less person you have to protect yourself and your family from. One less person you have to pay for in the penal or the welfare system. One more tax-paying, productive member of society who may invent a new energy source or come up with a cure for cancer. They're all important to us, and we need every single one of them. It makes a difference. And when you go home tonight, please read about it. Carson Scholars Fund. CarsonScholars.org. But why is it so important that we educate our people? Because we don't want to go down the same pathway as many other pinnacle nations who have preceded us. I think particularly about ancient Rome. Very powerful. Nobody could even challenge them militarily. But what happened to them? They destroyed themselves from within. Moral decay. Fiscal irresponsibility. They destroyed themselves. And if you don't think that can happen to America, you get out your books and you start reading. But we can fix it. Why can we fix it? Because we're smart. We have some of the most intellectually gifted people leading our nation. All we need to do is remember what our real responsibilities are so we can solve the problems. I think about these problems all the time. And, my role model was Jesus. And he used parables to help people understand things. And one of our big problems right now, and like I said, I'm not politically correct, sorry, but, our deficit is a big problem. Think about it. And our national debt, $16.5 trillion. You think that's not a lot of money? Tell you what, count one number per second, which you can't even do because once you get to 1,000, it takes you longer than a second. But one number per second. You know how long it would take you to count the 16 trillion? 507,000 years. More than 500,000 years to get there. We have to deal with this. Here's a parable. A family falls on hard times. Dad loses his job or is demoted, gets part-time work. He has 5 children. He comes to the 5 children. He says, we're going to have to reduce your allowance. Well, they're not happy about it, but he said, except for John and Susan. They're special. They get to keep their allowance. In fact, we may give them more. How do you think that's going to go down? Not too well. Same thing happens. Enough said. What about our taxation system? So complex. There is no one who can possibly comply with every jot and tittle of our taxes. If I wanted to get you or you, I could get you on a tax issue. That doesn't make any sense. What we need to do is come up with something that's simple. And when I pick up my Bible, you know what I see? I see the fairest individual in the universe, God, and He's given us a system. It's called tithe. Now, we don't necessarily have to do it 10%, but it's principle. He didn't say, if your crops fail, don't give me any tithes. He didn't say, if you have a bumper crop, give me triple tithes. So there must be something inherently fair about proportionality. You make $10 billion, you put in $1 billion. You make $10, you put in $1. Of course, you got to get rid of the loopholes. But now some people say, well, that's not fair because it doesn't hurt the guy who made $10 billion as much as the guy who made 10. Where does it say you have to hurt the guy? He just put $1 billion in the pot. We don't need to hurt him. It's that kind of thinking. It's that kind of thinking that has resulted in 602 banks in the Cayman Islands. That money needs to be back here, building our infrastructure and creating jobs. And we're smart enough to figure out how to do that. We've already started down the path of solving one of the other big problems, health care. We need to have good health care for everybody. It's the most important thing that a person can have. Money means nothing. Titles means nothing when you don't have your health. But we got to figure out efficient ways to do it. We spend a lot of money on health care, twice as much per capita as anybody else in the world, and yet not very efficient. What can we do? Here's my solution. When the person is born, give them a birth certificate, an electronic medical record, and a health savings account, to which money can be contributed pre-tax from the time you're born to the time you die. When you die, you can pass it on to your family members so that when you're 85 years old and you got 6 diseases, you're not trying to spend up everything. You're happy to pass it on, and there's nobody talking about death panels. That's number one. And also, for the people who are indigent, who don't have any money, we can make contributions to their HSA each month because we already have this huge pot of money. Instead of sending it to some bureaucracy, let's put it in their HSAs. Now they have some control over their own health care. And what do you think they're going to do? They're going to learn very quickly how to be responsible. When Mr. Jones gets that diabetic foot ulcer, he's not going to the emergency room and blowing a big chunk of it. He's going to go to the clinic. He learns that very quickly. Gets the same treatment. In the emergency room, they send him out. In the clinic, they say, let's get your diabetes under control so you're not back here in 3 weeks with another problem. That's how we begin to solve these kinds of problems. It's much more complex than that, and I don't have time to go into it all. But we can do all of these things because we're smart people.
Stones.
The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly. But then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard to recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.
Hardy fiber cement siding is proven to withstand water, pests, and fire better than wood-based siding. And it looks better while doing it. Hardy siding has been chosen for 10 million homes and counting. See the proof at jameshardy.com.
The stones on this doctor being 4 feet from the president and laying it all out there in an intelligent manner. And that was the thing, too. Obviously, he's super smart. But not only did he articulate it intelligently, but he didn't do it with huge words in a snobby way where I'm sure he planned it that way because people on the left would be like, oh, look at big words, and he's, talking above the normal people, and that just shows you what the people on the right are about. He used very specific, articulable facts, and standing 4 feet from the president, who, again, looked like he was pouting the entire time, didn't even clap, which, like a guy, I hate a guy if he makes a decent point. I think in a crowd like that, you
maybe
should
the president didn't think he made a decent point.
And that's a good point, too. I'll clap for that. But he, he laid it out. One of the things I didn't know is that there are 602 banks in the Cayman Islands. That is crazy.
Bangs?
Yeah. You know how in the 80s we all wore our hair down with bangs? Banks! Banks, B-A-N-K-S. Dude, really? A week off, you can't understand me?
I'm sorry. Listen, I didn't have my Bostonian translator going on while I was at home, so I apologize.
I love the fact that he put the 16 trillion into days, and if you counted each day, it would take you 507.
A lot. Just say a lot.
1,000 years.
Just say a lot. Oh, yeah.
I wanted to make sure I had the right quote down for that. Unbelievable points. 4 feet from the president. The president had to know, too, because Dr. Carson has been very outgoing about his political views. He's had other speeches before and stuff like that. The president had to know going into this he was going to get lambasted.
Seriously, it's the national prayer breakfast.
Yeah.
The president is going into, I would think he would know, a
more conservative
venue than perhaps he is used to attending. It's not. I mean, it's not an Occupy rally. Right. It's not Bill Ayer's living room.
Right. No.
It's
exactly.
not Jeremiah Wright's church or anything.
In front of the pulpit.
Yeah.
He's not having. He's not.
I don't think Jeremiah Wright was there. Maybe he was.
He's not sitting down having coffee with Van Jones.
Right. I mean, he's at the national prayer breakfast.
Or getting advice from Cass Sunstein. Or that's weird.
What?
I'm just trying to think of what all these folks have in common. Either way.
Listen, it's not like he was, cozying up with some hot chocolate and a book by Frances Fox Piven, the Ghostbuster librarian lady. Look-alike.
Get her. That's all I could come up with. Get her, Ray. Yeah. And I was shocked. I love the fact that we still laugh about that 2 years later. Frances Fox Piven, if you Google her, pull up her picture, and then look at the woman who played the floating librarian at the beginning of Ghostbusters, and put them side by side, you won't be able to tell them apart. I swear to God.
Don't swear to God.
Well,
we're talking about the National Prayer Breakfast, and you're going to... Gosh.
I was born and raised Irish Catholic. You need a week off. You just can't deal with me.
Yeah, but you're a practicing heathen. That's the problem. Really? You got nothing?
I got nothing on that one. I really can't say another word.
Hang on, let's read our text stream from earlier today.
I prefer we didn't, actually.
Okay.
Oh, man. I'm laughing so loud right now I can hear myself in Socko's headphones. That's bad. But it was...
And you can see yourself in his pants, which is even weirder.
Really?
What?
That was a secret.
So, back to the National Prayer Breakfast. I did like the idea about the healthcare savings account. I look at you. He's got tears rolling down his face, folks. We are that funny if you ask us. I have such a blast. I did like the idea about the healthcare savings account. Anyone can contribute to it. You know what the amazing part is he's not some doctor advocating for the government to take care of all these people. He's advocating for people to take care of themselves. And his whole foundation is privately funded. People donate, and then it's charitable, and all the difference that he makes. And that's something that the more government steps in, the less people are going to be able to do versus taxes or anything else. And great organizations like this, who are run by amazing and exceptional people like Dr. Carson, are going to be fewer and further between because of high tax rates. People just can't afford to do it. They're not getting the breaks that they used to get when they would make large donations. And then it's going to force people to the government side, the government healthcare.
Well, they have no choice. I mean, you look at how many employers have already had to drop employees or reduce hours or whatnot because of the Obamacare bill.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's a given. Unfortunately, and I was having this conversation with somebody matter of fact, it was earlier today, about how you look at the situation in California, and I read a report where the wealthier people that live in California are actually beginning to move out or look to leave the state and take with them jobs and money that they're spending and putting back in and so forth because of the new taxes that passed this last election cycle. And you would think that people would get it by now, that they would see the causes and effects of higher tax rates and what that does in the long term as far as the impact that it has on the economy and the financial situation of municipality, state, country,
all the way up,
whatever it is. And a prime example that I like to use is the Depression of 1920.
Mm-hmm.
That is not studied anymore in any history books, and
well, it's not a big deal.
No, it's not a big deal because fortunately tax rates were slushed and we were able to get out of it. And if you recall, we had the Roaring 20s. We went into a time of great growth and prosperity in this country, but.
The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly. But then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard-to-recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.
It just amazes me that there are those out there in power that, first of all, still get elected, but that still hold true to this ideology that that's the way we do it. And I understand it's under the guise of fairness and, redistribution and, well, it has to be fair and everybody, they're more into, instead of equality of opportunity, it's equality of result.
Right.
And
it's an unbelievable way of putting it.
Thank you. I have a very difficult time wrapping my head around how in this country, how that has taken hold and has been allowed to thrive. And I can kind of, just the fact that it has been allowed to grow, and the progressives have done an outstanding job of indoctrination and really over the last 100 years turning this country towards away from its founding principles. But we're up against a break. When we take break, when we come back, I want to touch on something real quick in Obama's speech, where he actually talks about what our strongest freedom is.
I can't wait to discuss that. Back in 3.5 with Sackheads Radio.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey folks, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making this country and our communities a better and safer place. God bless.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women in uniform of the armed forces. Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women. Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our... God.
You going to mention me this time?
Thank you, Sean. You said mention you, right?
Oh.
You totally need to keep that as an outtake.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
And we are back. The exceptional conservative said we haven't yet recovered from Francis Fox Piven. It just makes me laugh every single time. So, you said the president said something in his speech that you wanted to discuss, and I like when you kind of hide things from me in pre-show production, and then
didn't hide anything. Didn't hide anything at all. This isn't what I was even going with. But he said something that was interesting in his speech, and one of the things he says, and I'm reading here from the New York Times transcript of his State of the Union address.
Yeah.
But in one segment of his address, he says, quote, "But defending our freedom is not the job of our military alone. We must all do our part to make sure our God-given rights are protected here at home." Interesting, first of all, that he recognizes that rights are given by God. And then again, talking about Second Amendment, which is in the Bill of Rights later on. Anyways, I digress. But he says here, quote, "That includes our most fundamental right as citizens, the right to vote." Now, I first read that, or I first heard that, and I said, well, okay. I was listening to it as he gave it, and then I went back and I read the transcript, and it struck me odd that he would say that our most fundamental right as a citizen, as a citizen of the United States, citizen of this country, our most fundamental right is to vote.
Right.
And I thought about that. I've actually been thinking about that for the last day or so, and I don't believe that's our most fundamental right. I mean, look, I believe it's our most fundamental responsibility.
Yeah, it's a huge responsibility. One that's often overlooked in this country.
But if I think of a fundamental right of an American citizen...
The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly. But then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard-to-recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.
And are a fundamental right of man in terms of mankind, for any political correct police out there. I think of the right to life, the right to liberty, the right to freedom, the right to freedom of thought, the right to freedom of speech, the right to self-defense, not only against others that might want to infringe upon my individual liberty, but also defense against tyranny.
Absolutely.
I think those are fundamental rights of as a citizen, and so the fact that he said our most fundamental right as citizens, the right to vote, struck me. What were your thoughts on that?
I would agree with you. I think you can argue, because I think it's one of those things where I believe that some of them some rights, God-given rights, are different for people as far as the order of priority.
Right, but they're still God-given rights.
Right.
Look, our rights come from God.
It's not voting.
It's not.
Voting is not one of them, really.
It's not. But if somebody were to ask you, hey, what do you think is our most fundamental right?
Liberty.
As a citizen.
I think liberty.
Yeah.
I would. That's my first. Liberty is because liberty is what gives you everything else.
And this said to me that wow, you know what, this president, I don't believe really understands what our fundamental rights are as this country, and I don't believe that he understands even that rights are God-given.
Yeah,
I don't think he believes that. I think he said it. It sounds good in the speech. A speechwriter maybe
exactly.
Put it in for him.
It's good to throw it in because it keeps people off of you.
Yeah, but then he says that our fundamental right is the right to vote. That's not our most fundamental right. And then he goes on immediately and he announces his bipartisan or his nonpartisan commission to, quote, improve the voting experience in America. Okay, look, I can understand that you want to improve the voting experience in America.
Absolutely.
And you're announcing your nonpartisan commission. Okay, that's fine. But I had a problem with his wording of it. And again, I think the reason I had the problem with it was because I really believe that this president doesn't truly understand our
or doesn't
American,
agree with.
No, I don't think he understands it. I honestly don't believe, and I have not seen any evidence of this. This is just my own personal thoughts. I don't believe that he has ever studied in earnest the founding principles of this country. I don't believe it.
Well, he went to Harvard.
What? Again, that's like saying he taught at Columbia. I mean, come on.
We can argue back and forth as to whether or not he believes, or he just says it, or he doesn't believe. I believe he knows it and doesn't agree with it.
Okay, what evidence do you have that supports that he has even studied that? I mean, if you look at where he has attended school, who his mentors have been, I don't see where he would have obtained that information. And I didn't get this stuff in any of my schooling. Right. I had to go out and seek this knowledge on my own. I make it a point. I enroll in online classes at Hillsdale College for the Constitution. I go out and look, read books on my own. And
do the research
on my own.
Well,
so I don't believe. Again, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that he has done it because he lacks. And several things he has said have demonstrated that he has a fundamental lack of understanding of the principles that this country was founded upon.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you look at when he said, that when Constitution is a charter of negative liberties. I mean,
right. But that's things like that is what leads me to believe that he studied it and doesn't agree.
I think he studied the Constitution and doesn't agree, but I don't think he studied the ideals of the founders. I don't know that he has ever and again, like I'm admitting here, I don't know, but I don't believe that he has ever sat down with even one volume of the writings of George Washington.
Right. Well, I would agree with that.
And really kind of study what they what they thought.
And Obama 2016 is in our chat room right now. And
hello. I missed you the last few times. We discussed that we haven't had you in here for a while.
Yeah, we actually did mention that, and I like having him in here because
I do too.
I think out of all of those from the left that we have occasionally,
he's very reasonable. Yeah, very reasonable.
Frames the best arguments.
Absolutely. I enjoy having him.
So his question was, do you think it's okay for people to wait hours to vote? No.
No.
Absolutely
not. And look, we're not saying that it's a bad idea to have a nonpartisan commission to improve the voting experience. I think that perhaps that would be better done at the state level because the elections are run and really handled.
It's supposed to be county to county.
Yeah.
County commissioners, yeah.
It is. But I believe that could be done perhaps better in individual counties or maybe even if you want to have it at the state level. But look, I have no problem with the president putting together a nonpartisan commission to look at the voting experience throughout the country.
Well, right, wrong, or indifferent, a lot of the places that but people had to wait were a lot of inner city areas that had lower voter turnout for a long time.
Yeah, and look,
we've said it before. He absolutely got his base going the first time he ran.
And the second time also.
And the second time.
Yeah.
He got a lot of people in the inner city that have never voted before, had no interest show up. So I think they still, and it's wrong, and I don't agree, they still gauge the number of voting machines and how it's run off of data that's probably old.
Look,
so yes,
I have.
We absolutely need to look at that.
Look, Look, nobody should be standing in line for hours. Look, they can get absentee ballots and other avenues, and that may be difficult for some people, and that's fine. I mean, I have no issue with them looking at how to improve the voting experience for everybody. Now, if the federal government took over the national voting,
no.
I would probably
have
a big issue with that.
But he never said that.
No,
and I completely agree that it does need to be looked at. And hopefully the bipartisan commission does.
The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly. But then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard-to-recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.
Do the right thing with it and get with states and say, hey, this is your deal, but fix it because this isn't right.
Yeah. Or just say, you know what, these are some of the things we've noticed. There, the voting districts in these areas are, too small, or you don't have whatever,
or too big, or
whatever the case is. I have no issue with that.
But is it any different than people who live?
We're getting off topic. The only point.
Sorry.
No. It's okay.
Oh, we were answering a question.
No, absolutely. But the only point I had was that he was saying our most fundamental right as a citizen was the right to vote, and
I disagree.
I absolutely disagree, because I think our most fundamental right is liberty. Now I can say that the right to vote or the responsibility to vote is a direct reflection upon that liberty, is done in direct support of that liberty, is a primary exercise of that liberty. But our most fundamental right as a citizen is liberty.
Right. Liberty comes first. Everything else is afterwards. Because without liberty, you have nothing else.
You have nothing else.
It's almost like...
it doesn't matter whether you vote. Look, they vote in Russia. They vote in Egypt.
Yeah, they voted in Russia, and Putin got elected with like a 99.9% approval rating. So I know we're not Russia, and I'm glad, but it can be adjusted depending on who's in there. It was a good question by Obama 2016, who also gets a point for me because, he happened to spend some time in Boston, and we lived not too far from each other, as I just found out.
Do you know Obama 2016?
I might know him. Who knows?
Do you know if you know him?
You know what? I will bet that I probably bumped into Dunkin' Donuts. Bumped into him in the Dunkin' Donuts at some point.
Do we know it's a him?
Or her. No, you know what? I don't know if it's a him or her, and I apologize for
Why are you being such a sexist, insensitive, politically incorrect pig?
I am a jerk.
You are a complete jerk.
But again, this is why I like him. He says there is hope for us just because we agree with the fact that waiting hours to vote is wrong. Yes, we do. So you're right. There is.
We're not unreasonable here.
Well, depends on who you talk to. No, yeah, there's definitely. Although liberty is the biggest. to me, because that provides you the right to vote. So it's almost I know there's a saying out there, fruit of the poisonous tree. If it's not good from the beginning, then it's bad at the end. It has to be good all the way through. Liberty being the first good thing, and then everything else can be good. I don't know why he would say that.
Really?
Well, yeah.
No, come on. Another thing that struck out. I mean, look, there was an event that happened a couple hours Guam time before the president's State of the Union address, and then something that he said in his speech, and it was kind of said in passing, but these other events kind of made it interesting. But what he said was, and it was one line, again quoting, this is again from a transcript of his State of the Union address from the NewYorkTimes.com, and he says, quote, "In defense of freedom, we will remain the anchor of strong alliances from the Americas to Africa, from Europe to Asia." Okay. And that's kind of all he mentioned, I believe, that I was able to find about Asia. And that's okay. I have nothing wrong with him saying that. But there was an article that I found on the Washington Free Beacon. And do you know what the Russian Tu-95 is? The Bear bomber. It's a big,
humongous
turboprop bomber that is capable of carrying nuclear weapons. And the Soviet Union used to use them. They used to fly them over carrier air groups. They used to fly them close to Alaska and California because the base was there.
They were the test response one that carried. So they'd fly those to get a reaction back during the Cold War.
Yeah,
get us put planes up and all that. Yeah.
On a couple hours before the president issued his State of the Union address, I believe it was 2 Bear. Tu-95 Bear is the NATO designation for them. H's capable of carrying nuclear weapons.
Tupolev 95.
Yeah, it actually flew around Guam, which, as you know,
is American soil.
Is America. They have bases there, and of course jets scrambled. American F-15s scrambled in response, but the fact that these aircraft circumnavigated the island of Guam a mere couple hours before the president gave his State of the Union speech is kind of interesting to me. And you look at Guam. Okay, why would they fly around Guam? And what are you reacting to right now?
I love exceptional conservative. He kills me. He said they were only attempting to locate the Carnival Triumph. I'm sorry. I was sitting there trying to hold it in. That was great. Go on, please.
That's awesome. Now, here's what's interesting about Guam. Obama's administration has a pivot to Asia policy, where Guam is the keystone in order to support South Korea, Japan, the Philippines, and so forth. Okay.
Right.
And there is a tension has been, obviously in the region, in the Asian region, tensions have been shooting up, right? You had North Korea just detonate
the test,
another. I think it was their third test, underground nuclear test.
But we don't have to worry about Iran. Sanctions will work out fine.
They're fine.
Moving on.
But you also have tensions rising between Japan and China.
Yes.
And there was an incident. I don't remember exactly when it was, where a Chinese warship basically targeted and locked onto a weapons lock on a Japanese naval ship in the region. And there's I believe it's pronounced Senkaku Islands is where this tension is coming from between Japan and China.
Right.
I'm going kind of off a little bit here, but follow me. This area has been in dispute for a while, ever since the Americans controlled it after World War II until I believe like 1971, 1972, when it was turned back over to Japan for control and administration. And China has said, well, no, there were some treaties in place. Yes, they had it for a period of time in the 1800s, but then, in the, I believe it was the San Francisco Treaty or whatever, it reverted back to us. But Japan says, well, no, because the islands were controlled by the United States after World War II as part of our land. It was turned back over to us. So there's this big dispute over the Senkaku Islands. And they're uninhabited, but what's important about these islands is they believe there's massive oil reserves underneath there.
Weird.
So anyways, obviously they're important strategically, and tensions have been rising. China has obviously has their interest there. The United States has said, and the Obama administration has basically said, hey, we're going to back Japan in this. And so is this a signal that the Soviet Union is going to back China in this?
That's an interesting twist.
And it's not a twist. I mean, it's just a basic analysis. I'm not the only one that has said that. But the other interesting thing is
hey,
there have been,
give yourself credit.
No, there have been in the last year there have been 2 other flights by these Bear bombers near U.S. Airspace, and one occurred in June of this year, or excuse me, June of 2012, where 2 Bear H bombers flew up against the air defense zone near Alaska. They were conducting a large-scale exercise where a strategic exercise where they were simulating attacks on U.S. bases, strategic bases. And obviously we have missile defense bases in Alaska and missile defense base in California. Of course, the United States and Canadian jets were scrambled to intercept the Bear bombers.
Right.
There was another.
There was one in England too, 2 years ago. Same type of thing.
Maybe, but look, remember Yorktown. On July 4th.
Go on.
On July 4th, 2012. Weird. I don't know. That date doesn't really have any significance.
No.
But 2 Bear H bombers operated at a point so near the United States. It was the nearest point that the Bear bombers have operated since the collapse of the USSR, since the collapse of the Soviet Union, and it operated in a zone off of California, and of course, jets were scrambled and the bombers were intercepted, but Russia is obviously stepping up their game a little bit here, and they have been.
Well,
and Putin is
he's made it apparent that he's stepping up the military a lot.
Yes, and he is no friend to the United States. I mean, he's made it apparent pretty clear. He's had kind of some cold discussions with Obama, and the fact that they're flying their bombers, and the president is still discussing about arms reduction. I think he's having another meeting with Putin about arms reduction. But why the stepped up activity with these bombers capable of carrying nuclear weapons?
Well, and it's funny too because, as you said, are they showing alignment with China a little bit?
Maybe. It's a possibility.
China has shown alignment with North Korea.
Yeah.
So there's a connection there. Russia has shown alignment with Syria. So there's a connection there. You start looking at big picture. I said before, if Putin had his way, they would be back to communism quicker than you could shake a fist. Or at least the Chinese version of communism, where the government has total control, but they can make as much money as humanly possible.
Almost like a state-sponsored capitalism.
Yeah, I don't know what Russia's game would be in this, other than to test our response and other to flex a little bit of muscle. I know I read that the Russians were trying to get another carrier up and going at some point. They were getting a whole bunch of naval ships out going at some point. They were heavily investing in their Air Force once again, and they were building up their soldiers' army once again. So that being said, is their end game just to test our response?
I don't think there's a way to know right now. I think that the fly around Guam was not just to test our response. Obviously, it was meant to send a message.
Right, that we can do this.
And I believe a message was sent. But I haven't heard very much about these encounters in the mainstream media. Again, great article on the Washington Free Beacon if you have a chance to go and read the article. The article's name is Bear Bombers Over Guam. But they point out in the article that, hey, them flying the bombers that close to the Alaskan airspace potentially violated a part of the 2010 New START Arms Treaty, which requires advance notification of exercises involving the use of nuclear bombers near our airspace. So it's definitely interesting. And then I thought it was interesting just that one little snippet line that, hey, we're going to support our allies in blah blah blah. And he mentioned Asia and that one little line, and just a couple hours prior, these Russian bombers capable of carrying nuclear weapons show up and fly around Guam.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it's all the test response. Russia has been building. They're going to keep building, and Putin's going to push soon.
Look, he's already pushing, and I think that we've discussed the Obama administration's foreign policy, and that I disagree with a lot of the things that they've done in a foreign policy, and that's one of the things that concerned me about Romney also. During the foreign policy debate, it was I agree with you. Well, I agree. I basically agreed with him on everything. I don't believe the Arab Spring was a good thing. I know there are people out there that would disagree with that, but you look at what's happened in Egypt and some of the other countries over there. I don't believe the Arab Spring was a good thing. I believe that his policy has emboldened Putin, and that now we're seeing these stepped up flights of Russian bombers off of Alaska, California, and now.
The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly. But then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard to recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.
Guam.
Right.
I think that we've. I don't think we have the same clout in the international world as we had.
Yeah.
Look, basically, I don't think anybody was screwed with Bush. Bush would, and I'm not saying Bush was a great president. So before you rail me on that, I'm not saying Bush was
too late. You're getting railed for it.
Perfect. But I believe that in foreign policy, Bush was pretty tough. So I just wanted to throw that out to you. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't heard it reported. I know our huge base is totally going to get the story out. So.
Absolutely, we got to push this out to everybody and find out why mainstream media is ignoring this. So those 5 or 6 guys that can do that can get it done. Well, and you start looking back, and I look back at World War II. You had a group of allies, and you had the Axis, and
the Axis.
Axis, which the Allies used to cut down trees to make cots.
Right, in order to make cots.
And then you had the bad guys, and I can't remember what they were called.
Right.
Poo-poo heads. Something, I don't remember what it is.
I just remember that on Axis and Allies, there was Axis.
I always wanted Australia, and I couldn't figure out why. Either way.
Remember the expansion pack you could get that had, Italy? It was one tank, I think, or something.
But you start looking, and you can almost see the world going that way again. There are those that are starting
like a board game.
Iran, Syria, China, North Korea, Russia. They all have their component that's together. And there's other ones I'm missing out there.
Just call them click.
Let's call them a click. You know what we call them?
Zaglika.
Dude, you nailed it. I'm writing that down. So when it happens, no. I'm not saying that their whole point is to start a war. What I'm saying is.
No.
I think they're just looking for strength in numbers. And now that the big kid on the block has shown weakness, the smaller kids on the block can kind of start buddying up together and maybe overpower it or take them down another notch. It's scary, but way back, a year and a half ago when he said I'll have more wiggle room after the election and the whole I'll get the message to Vladimir, it said something. He has been kind of weak in that regard. He hasn't. And I'm sure everyone's like, well, what do you want him to do? Just go up there and just start bombing people? No, but show that we're not to be pushed around.
Well, look, in on May 30th of 2012, Russia announced that it was reopening Arctic air bases that had been closed since the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. So there's obviously a plan to start building up in that region again, and I'm wondering what their end game is.
Well, they're going to start. There was the whole incident with Georgia a few years ago, and I think that was to test not our Georgia, their Georgia, test the international response. Like, hey, is the world going to freak out if we try to reclaim one of our former states? And Putin was in charge at that time. I don't know. Is he going to try to push us back into a Cold War? I don't know. But what I do know is he's Putin. He can't be trusted. There's literally the guy was the president riding around shirtless on a horse with a shotgun in his hand for publicity photos. He's former KGB, so he's crazy. Former KGB. He was big. He was big in the Communist Party. He had clout. So it'll be interesting to see and what our response is going to be to that, if any.
Well, according to
at least we scrambled.
We did. According to a June 25th dispatch by the Russian news agency Interfax, there was a Russian Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Vladimir Deryabin. Sorry if I kind of butchered that name, but I don't really care.
You don't even pronounce my name right, so.
Yeah, I don't know what it is anyways, but he said that the mission of the exercise was to, quote, practice destruction of enemy air defenses and strategic facilities.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's time for us to try it. Maybe we should start really stepping up our...
Yeah, maybe we do.
Just for fun.
Yeah, maybe we do.
Oh, you know what, though? If we started to do that, people would just all of a sudden go after the economy. So we can't do that either, because that'd be a huge waste of money now. So either way, we can't win. We're screwed. At the end of the day, we're screwed. We're just hosed. We're going to be walked all over. The good part is when the president's reelected in 2016. Oh, wait a minute.
Wait, what? Constitutionally, that can't happen. It's not like there's an amendment that's been
proposed.
Yeah.
Hey, how about this?
You know what? I wonder if Obama 13 is the congressman who actually proposed that.
No, he's up in Oregon, he said. So,
oh, okay.
Well, I mean, can I trust him? He's on the internet. But he does like Dunkin' Donuts, and he's from Boston. So he can't be that bad of a guy. No, he said he's a guy. He did, in fact, confirm. We're up against the break. We're going to be back in a minute. Hey, we are streaming live through our website. The amazing Sackhead Sacco is able to get us up live through our site itself. So if you can't catch us on Blog Talk, you can go to sackheadsradio.com, see the new site, and listen to us there. We'll be back in a minute. Sackheads Radio.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wingnut leaders throughout the world to give our men and women of the armed forces a job, as well as all the anarchists, terrorists, and Occupy folks that give our men and women in uniform on the home front, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and first responders, job security here in the States as well. So thank all you wingnuts out there. This is Sackhead Clint saying have a good day.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. We often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school board, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Hey guys, do you like our news briefs? Better yet, do you like the amazing voice that does our news briefs? Do you need some audio work done? Check out PlatinumVocalCords.com. Our friend Vanessa has years of broadcast experience. She's an absolute professional. She'll work with you, get the sound exactly how you'd want it. So go to PlatinumVocalCords.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you. Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
This is Sal from New York. Please listen to Sackheads Radio.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
We are back. Thank you again, Sal, and to all our friends in the Northeast. I hope you dug out of the blizzard fairly well. I actually was jealous I was not there because I love me a good blizzard. I'm one of those widows.
So do I. Dairy Queen has a great one. I like the what? I like the cookies and cream. Do you like the Snickers bar?
I do like the Snickers bar. It's a very good one.
That's not what you were talking about?
No, It's snow.
It's what?
Snow. That's that white stuff that falls from the sky when it gets really cold sometimes.
Okay.
You know, before we went to the break, and I forget who in the chat room said it. Somebody in the chat room said, hey, what about the Russian nuclear sub that sat in the Gulf of Mexico for 30 days last summer? I don't remember reading anything about that.
I don't remember reading anything about that either. I don't even know about that incident.
So if you could link that, I'd love to read it. Also, we were talking about the voting thing earlier, real quick. And so we said, well, I had to wait in line for 4 hours to vote. What about those people that have to drive a few hours to get to their voting station? It's kind of like waiting in line, isn't it?
No, because you're driving in your car. You can listen to music. I guess you could do that on your iPhone now,
right,
or whatever kind of Android
phone. And I'm not saying it's right, but I understand how awful it is that you have to wait, but other people have to wait in different ways as well. And I just thought that was a different look at it, and I don't know why I thought about that.
But if you know that you have to drive to your polling place, why would you not request an absentee ballot?
Well, because there's been some questions about absentee ballots in the past.
I like to go to the polling place.
I like to go and do it myself.
I enjoy, actually getting in my car and driving and going.
And actually see it go in the machine and do all that. And I do as well. But there are people in the Midwest that I'm sure have to drive a considerable distance to actually get their vote in if they want to do it the same way you and I like to do it, to walk in and vote. Just an interesting, different thought, but, you know. That was my thought.
And it is. How do you, and maybe that's something that the commission is going to look at. How do you make voting easier for people in those outlying rural areas, or like you suggested in the inner city where perhaps they haven't had large voting districts opened up, or precincts open up to allow for a large population in those cities to vote.
And I don't want anyone to get me wrong. I'm not disagreeing with the fact that people should have to vote. I don't think they should have to wait forever to vote. I'm just, for whatever reason, that popped into my head, and I just thought it was worth sharing.
And I think one answer could be perhaps where you have you have, instead of a 1 day vote, this is election day. You know what? We have a period of time where you have a 1 week period, this Monday through Friday, where you can go to the polls and vote. That may be an answer. I don't know, but look, if you have a doctor's appointment, you have whatever it is, you have a long drive, and you can't get to the poll for whatever reason, that can disenfranchise somebody perhaps.
Absolutely.
But if you had maybe a week to vote, maybe you don't like going absentee, whatever the case may be, that's a potential solution, I guess.
No,
look, it's not my job to solve the world's problems.
What the hell are you doing here? So I just got the link from Exceptional Conservative. It says Russian attack submarine sailed in the Gulf of Mexico undetected for weeks, and this is from Fox News. Russian nuclear-powered attack submarine with long-range cruise missile operated undetected in the Gulf of Mexico for several weeks. This is back in August 2012.
Oh, so a long, long time ago.
And its travel in strategic U.S. water was only confirmed after it left the region, according to the Washington Free Beacon. Wow, they're really getting in on a lot of stuff.
They are. I like them.
And it says the stealth underwater conversion of the Gulf took place at the same time Russian strategic bombers made incursions into restricted U.S. airspace near Alaska and California in June and July.
Okay.
So there you go. It's right there if you want to read it. Interesting.
What's the website again?
And that's on, it's Fox Nation, but it's foxnews.com. Hey, Sacco, can we link this to our website? Okay, good. Sacco's going to get it up on the website here, hopefully real soon.
He's also going to get the Bear Bombers over Guam link also to the website up.
Like I said, just more interesting stuff to read about. It's funny, that
Sean, if that was operating in, that's because that said it was operating in U.S. waters, Sean. I haven't read it.
Yeah, in the Gulf of Mexico, in U.S. waters.
Did we sink it?
Strategic U.S. waters.
Is that what they meant by it left?
No, it left on its own. We did not sink it. So.
Interesting.
I'm shocked. I didn't even hear about that. I figured that would have got much more coverage. A Russian sub at the same time as the two strategic bombers were near Alaska and California. You would think that would garner some sort of attention.
Interesting. Another interesting piece of news came out. Senator Lindsey Graham, I know he's everybody on the left's favorite. What?
Nothing, you're right.
Yeah, he indicated that
The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly. But then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard-to-recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.
Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, told him that the president was informed of the April and June attacks, talking about the IED attacks on the Benghazi consulate, and the days coming up with the September 11th assault. So he's claiming, hey, that the president was aware that these attacks were happening, and again, this comes from, not to quote the same source twice, but thanks for blowing that. But this is from Obama. This is from FoxNews.com. The story is out on that he knew about the IED attacks in the run-up to the Benghazi strikes. That's their article.
Benghazi, what's that?
The American consulate that was...
Oh, right, the thing that nobody's talking about, even though it's kind of a big deal?
The ambassador was killed.
Yeah, now I remember that.
Soil.
So
it wasn't terrorism, it was a protest. The video did it.
Right, the video did it, even though we confirmed that it never did, and then we had information prior to the attack.
Even though we had resources available.
But
that
instead of just going out there and owning it, we were lied to because there was an election around the corner. I'm not saying that was the reason, but that was the reason.
No, coincidentally, there was an election.
That's right.
Around.
Right, it just happened to line up that way.
Right. Oh, and during the debates when Romney said, I agree with you, basically the whole debate on foreign policy. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah, you know what? We should probably not even. I don't want to put those two dots together because there's no way it's possible.
No.
Weird. I love how we don't do anything like that ever. So what else happened this week? There was some sort of speech or something.
A speech?
Yeah, somebody.
Like in high school?
Somebody said something. I don't know.
It's high school.
Oh boy.
Oh, at a boys' club.
That's right. I think it was boys.
It was at an elite. It was It was at an elite, some kind of elite country club place. Congress.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And
all the elitist pricks were. Oh, I'm sorry. All the elected officials that are doing such a great job.
All of them just nailing it right now.
All. Just good job, guys.
So the State of the Union.
Yeah.
Did you sit through that? And it's funny, when I watched it, I thought the same thing. And I'm going to play a great mashup by the Heritage Foundation. But as you sat through that, didn't you feel like maybe you've heard it before?
Well, once or twice. I mean, there were a couple little new caveats in there.
Like perhaps he just, I don't know, recycled it. There was the whole gun control platform was in there that wasn't in there before.
Yeah, and all of the victims.
All the victims
that
were there.
the vote.
Did he also have all the people in there who survived as a result of having a weapon? Or how about all the people in there that were denied the ability to carry a weapon on their person, were victimized by people who illegally had the weapon?
Listen, you're getting off.
No. I just want to know, were they also in the crowd? Because I know there was like green ribbons,
I'm sure there were some Tea Party people there. Like I think Paul Ryan was probably there.
Right, but was he ever a victim of a crime that you know of where he should have had a weapon?
No.
I'm just saying,
I'm sure Rand Paul was there.
If you want to be, as they like to throw out the word fair, and they love to throw that out as humanly possible. Why wouldn't, if you're going to have victims' families of people who were killed as a result of quote-unquote gun violence,
right,
then why wouldn't you have the survivors who guns saved their lives in one way or another? I can think probably of 20 stories off the top of my head of like mom who's home with her kids, elderly person who was in the house when robbers broke in, stuff like that.
Active shooter at a shopping mall. Guy with a shopping mall. Weapons permit, pulled out a pistol, and the guy went in and shot himself because he didn't like the armed confrontation.
Let's see, what else is there? So you have all those folks, and then I want to see all the victims of crimes who would have liked to have had a weapon with them but couldn't because they lived in Chicago, D.C., New York, San Francisco. The list goes on and on. L.A., I think, doesn't give out CCWs.
L.A., Louisiana?
Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
And why weren't they in the crowd? Well, the people who lost loved ones to crimes that maybe if they had a weapon, if they wanted a weapon, they could have survived. Why weren't they in the crowd? So if you're gonna, if you're gonna be fair, which is the left's big thing, hey, let's be fair. Why wouldn't you bring those folks in and give them their moment, like you gave to the victims?
Because he's a stinking politician. He wants to make his point, and he wants to parade the victims around in order to do it. Look, the Republicans do the same thing when they want to win some kind of political point, but in this case, Obama did it, so we're going to call him on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not. Look, he said some things in the speech, and this is where the libertarian in me comes out a little bit and gets me in trouble with some of the conservatives. But look, I don't think the government has any business in anybody's bedroom or really in their house.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you're, cutting up blow in front of your kids or something, yeah, different story. But look, I view marriage as I don't believe the government should be involved in what defines marriage. I believe marriage is a religious sacrament. And if a church wants to recognize marriage, I have the choice not to attend that particular church because of my personal beliefs. But if another church wants to recognize a same-sex marriage, okay, that's their right to do that as part of their religious views. They can do that. And I don't believe the state has any say about that because, again, I view marriage as a religious sacrament. So, look, I don't have a problem with him bringing in the same-sex things about the same-sex or the homosexual in the military or their right to marriage or family or whatever. Look, I have my personal views on it. I may not personally agree with it, but it's not the government's say on what somebody does in their personal life or in their personal relationship, or if that's somebody's choice to be in a homosexual relationship and that's their spouse and it's sanctioned by a church, then hey, that's their choice. It's not government's saying that. I think an argument can be made as far as a state's rights issue. Is that something that a state can or should be involved with? And again, I don't necessarily think so, because again, I believe that to be a religious thing that again my views don't necessarily support. But I don't think it's a discussion for national politics. Does that make sense?
I absolutely agree. It's not
nobody's stinking business unless you're talking about kids,
right?
Because kids lack the emotional capacity to understand the nature of sex or anything like that. So unless you're talking about that, and that's why I have a problem with a lot of the like, California, a girl at 13 years old can get an abortion without the consent of their parents.
Right.
Or, look, I have a major issue with things like that. I have a major issue with sex education in the schools and those types of things. But because of the nature of sex and what it is, I don't believe that sex with children should be sanctioned or should be made to be legal or anything like that. But in cases of consenting adults, how they define their relationship is none of the government's business. None of my business.
Right. No, I agree.
Piss off some of our conservative listeners.
Well, but I think, like you said too, and I say the same thing. When you get a marriage license, all it is an agreement between two consenting adults.
Yeah, it's a legal agreement.
It's a legal agreement.
It's a legal document.
It's not recognized as a quote-unquote marriage. It's really just a civil union.
Why do you have to get a permit to get married? Are you stinking kidding me?
Exactly. So if the government, they force themselves into having to make that decision. Instead of it just being between two people, like we said, you go to, if you're a gay couple, you go to a church that recognizes gay marriage, great. Yeah. That's up to you. If you're a straight couple, you go to a church. And then the same thing is, I don't think if people don't want to get married, I know couples that have been together for eons that never want to tie the knot just because they don't don't get married, but they shouldn't be denied the civil union rights just the same.
And while we're on the discussion of government documents and permits and licensing, why do I have to fill out that frickin' census every 10 years, and basically where they climb up my canuteral valve with a microscope, and that is not a technical.
No, I think canuteral valve
is it really?
I'm going to search that right now. I'm looking for it.
Why don't they just pull all of the birth and death records and do the frickin' math?
Well, why should they have to do the work when they make us do it?
Right?
It's government.
Think about it. Hey, how many people do you have? I don't know, pull the birth records, pull the death records.
We should
subtract
start
the
screwing
numbers.
with them.
You don't
just put
already?
Like 500 in one house. And just start listing bizarre names, like just lamppost, tuna fish dolphin tire. And just keep going. How's this person related to you? Spiritual guidance. Like, just really go
You know
nuts.
what? I'm not going to fall for your shenanigans because you're just trying to get me to say something so that the Census Bureau can come knock on your door.
I would love to open the door and be like, yes, I do have my census ready. Here you go. Oh, and there's a couple of addendum pages, too, that I had to make up myself. And look at the look on the guy's face where he's like, who's Goldie? That's my goldfish. And how is he related to you? That's my son.
Because who are you to define my relationship?
I claim him on my taxes.
He's kidding, IRS. Don't audit that head, Sean. He doesn't even have a goldfish. Nor does he file taxes. Anyways.
Believe me, if anyone over there has ever listened to the show and figured us out, they're going to audit me anyways just because. But yeah, I think that's what we should do with the census, and then just screw with them as much as humanly possible. You know what I like to do? I like to invite the guy in for coffee and then tell him I'll put pants on when we're done. That's always a good one, too. Hey, you want to come in and have a cup of coffee? I'm going to fill out my form. Oh, no, I'll put pants on as soon as the coffee's done. Come on in. Pardon me. Just to see the reaction. Just to see what I can get out of them. Usually I get escorted out. But that's not the point.
Hey, you can be without pants in your own house.
Right. It's just
come on in. Yeah, help me fill out my form. I want to do this. Come on in. I'll put on a pot of coffee. After the coffee's done, I'll put my pants on.
Sorry, I have a rash.
Do you know Jesus? Because they work for the government. They probably don't.
We should do a new segment, a new ways to screw with the government.
Yeah, that's a great one, Sean. That's a good idea.
Oh, man. What were we talking about?
We were talking about the State of the Union, but we haven't even gotten to the State of the Union yet.
Well, yeah, that's because you went off on some rant, and then I went off on a rant. Oh, it's just a regular show.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So the only real difference from this State of the Union to the previous ones was the gun control. That's how we got into it. Thank you. Sacco brought us back to reality.
Thank you, Sacco.
Thanks, Sacco.
I'm good at that. What'd you do? Replay the last 20 minutes of the show to figure out what the hell we were talking about?
Poor Sacco.
You were going to play the bit from the Heritage Foundation.
All right, this is the mashup from the Heritage Foundation. This is the State of the Union, I believe, in the last 3 years. And you can hear the cuts from the different sounds, but they're all different years, and just listen. Anytime now you want to listen, just listen.
The President of the United States. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, Mr. Vice President, fellow Americans. Tonight, jobs must be our number one focus, an agenda that begins with jobs. We need to encourage American innovation, an opportunity to invest in our future. We need to invest in the skills. Let's invest in tomorrow and education of our people. All these investments. Let's invest in our people. We can make the investments we need to win the future. The long-term investments. So much of America needs to be rebuilt. Jobs rebuilding our roads and bridges. We've got crumbling roads and bridges. To put people to work as soon as possible on our most urgent repairs. We can put Americans to work today, building the infrastructure of tomorrow. Like the nearly 70,000 structurally deficient bridges across the country. They're rebuilding their infrastructure and invest in areas like energy. So tonight, we'll make one of the largest commitments to clean energy in history. Investments in American energy, new discoveries in energy, building clean energy facilities, wind power, solar power, providing incentives for energy efficiency and clean energy sources, constructing wind turbines and solar panels, than in American-made energy.
The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly, but then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard-to-recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.
Plan that will help responsible families, every responsible homeowner, lower their monthly payments and refinance their mortgages. The chance to save about $3,000 a year on their mortgage, $3,000 a year, nearly $2,000 per year on their mortgage. $1,500 on mortgage payments. Helping folks refinance. I will not spend a single penny. We'll make sure this is fully paid for. Nothing I'm proposing tonight should increase our deficit by a single dime. Not a single dime. Not one single dime without adding to our deficit. A single dime. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. And God bless these United States of America.
One dime, tons of them.
Yeah. Literally, by weight.
And you said it, and I don't know if the folks at home could hear it. How come the mortgage thing went from $3,000 to $2,000? What the hell happened there?
Now, you know what? I can just picture this. Barack, yeah. Barack, it's time for you to give that speech. What speech? You know, where you have to go address Congress, give like the State of the Union. Fuck the Union. Honey, it's something you have to do. The Constitution says it. The Constitution's a charter of negative liberties, honey.
Right. Why are we supporting it all of a sudden?
Barack, just, it's expected. What'd I say last year? Do we have a copy of that speech? Yeah, we do. It's in the file cabinet, right? Yeah, just give me that one.
Just cut up the paragraphs, shuffle it like a thing of cards, and I'll carry that
I'll
out there.
I'll just carry it out there, and I'll just go say whatever. I'll thank. Who do I need to thank?
It kills me how many of the same keywords were in there over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And that was the last 3 years, and not much has changed. Here's the funny part is, not much has changed.
What do you mean not much has changed? Listen, the American people would not have reelected him if that's not the case.
That's a good... No, it still happened.
That's what I mean. Oh.
Right.
Ooh.
You see what you did?
Yeah, I see.
I know the path you were going on, but
I went to take the logical path.
Right.
But that...
And
you know what? It's like we're living in Acme world. Right? Where you walk off the cliff and you should fall. But
you're standing there and you're blinking for about a minute.
Yeah, but you're like, nope, haven't learned about gravity yet. I mean...
And then when you do fall 25,000 feet to your death, there's just a little puff of smoke.
Right.
Your nose is really flat. Or sometimes you walk away and you're like an accordion.
Right.
Your body just goes up and down and it even makes the sound.
Or if something falls at the same time as you do, because things don't really fall at the same rate, you like pass the huge boulder and then it lands right on top of you. It's kind of like that. Don't you feel that way?
That's exactly how I feel right now. You know what I wish?
Obama is the supreme ruler
of Acme World.
Which is now Thank you. On that note, we're up against the break.
Oh, sorry. We're up against that last break. We'll be back in a minute. Hopefully we'll actually get to the State of the Union. Sackheads Radio.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey folks, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making this country and our communities a better and safer place. God bless.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at homefronthugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. Homefronthugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to homefronthugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women in uniform of the armed forces. Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women. Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our... God.
You going to mention me this time?
Thank you, Sean. You said mention you, right?
Oh.
You totally need to keep that as an outtake.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
Well, we are on. How's that? How do you like that? We're back.
I told you. Say something, Sean.
You know, when your producer's waving his arms at you through the window, and like you should probably
and you just flip them off and keep talking anyways.
Wow, what a cut-rate show we are, huh? Well,
people are like, oh, thank God they're not back yet. I got a couple seconds of silence.
So, through the State of the Union, like I said, everything else is the same, but he brought up the whole gun control thing. We talked about it. He had the victims of gun, quote-unquote, gun violence in the audience. You took time to recognize them. They're all wearing different color ribbons, and this is pretty much his spiel on gun control.
It has been 2 months since Newtown. I know this is not the first time this country has debated how to reduce gun violence. But this time it's different. Overwhelming majorities of Americans who believe in the Second Amendment, have come together around common sense reform, like background checks that will make it harder for criminals to get their hands on a gun. Senators of both parties are working together on tough new laws to prevent anyone from buying guns for resale to criminals. Police chiefs are asking our help to get weapons of war and massive ammunition magazines off our streets because these police chiefs, they're tired of seeing their guys and gals being outgunned. Each of these proposals deserves a vote in Congress. If you want to vote no, that's your choice. But these proposals deserve a vote. Because in the 2 months since Newtown, more than 1,000 birthdays, graduations, anniversaries have been stolen from our lives by a bullet from a gun. More than 1,000. One of those we lost was a young girl named Idea Pendleton. She was 15 years old. She loved fig Newtons and lip gloss. She was a majorette. She was so good to her friends, they all thought they were her best friend. Just 3 weeks ago, she was here in Washington with her classmates, performing for her country at my inauguration. And a week later, she was shot and killed in a Chicago park after school, just a mile away from my house. Idea's parents, Nate and Cleo, are in this chamber tonight, along with more than 24 Americans whose lives have been torn apart by gun violence. They deserve a vote. They deserve a vote. They deserve a vote. Gabby Giffords deserves a vote. The families of Newtown deserve a vote. The families of Aurora deserve a vote. The families of Oak Creek and Tucson and Blacksburg and the countless other communities ripped open by gun violence, they deserve a simple vote.
So, are we on again? Are we on? I hate it when I do that.
Guy has a little hair falling on his eye.
You have a little mustache. You have to give me a high sign or something, like your arm extended straight out with your fingers.
No, that's not a good one.
No, your middle finger waves at me when we're going live again, so that I can stop my little rant.
First and foremost, I like how he wants to smoke out the people that would vote against gun control. He's essentially saying, because he knows it has to start in the House, or it's supposed to start in the House, right?
Okay. It can start in the Senate. It's not a.
But no, you're right. It's not a fiscal bill. But he wants to smoke out the people that would say no. Why? Because the midterms are right around the corner. And they can start. That way, each district can start. The left can start going after and say, hey, you know what? He voted against these dead children.
First of all, the guns have not been a winning topic for the left. They have not been. And I understand that they're trying to use Newton as kind of a starting block, again, to kind of jumpstart the gun control thing. I understand it. I don't agree with labeling all of the victims and throwing it down. But a couple things I had an issue with that he said, obviously, about this, and we've talked several weeks about the gun control argument and so forth. But a couple things he said, but one of the things specifically he says, quote, more than 1,000 birthdays, graduations, and anniversaries have been stolen from our lives by a bullet from a gun. No, No, Adam Lanza stole birthdays and graduations from those people.
Right.
Not the bullet from the gun. The bullet didn't steal anything. The gun didn't steal anything. It was an evil person who utilized that device in order to commit mass murder.
Right.
And to kill innocent children. Look, it's a horrible tragedy. It is a horrible, horrible tragedy. But that same day, you had 22 people slashed at a school in China by some crazed lunatic with an edged weapon. And China has had, if you pull their school attacks over the last 2 years, 3 years even, if you can go back, they have had more attacks at schools with edged weapons than we have had active shooter events in the United States, including malls, schools, and so forth.
Right.
So, again, this argument is, but the argument is, it's a non-starter, because until you change the Constitution, which I would even...
The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly. But then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard-to-recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.
And argue that because defense against, for yourself, for your family, and against tyranny is a fundamental right, a God-given right, that even a change or deleting the Second Amendment through the amendment process of the Constitution, I would believe an argument could be made that, hey, that's in and of itself is illegal based upon the principles of where our rights come from. But that's getting off topic here. Look, the original intent of the Second Amendment, whether you agree with this or not, whether you think this is a good idea or not, whether you like it or not, whether it makes you feel good or not, is really irrelevant, unfortunately, because the Second Amendment is there to preserve liberty. It is the Second Amendment. It was viewed as as the second most important safeguard to our freedom, second to freedom of speech and religion and so forth, which really restricts Congress from making laws against those things. But this is talking about defense of liberty, not only for the individual, for you as a person, which we are entitled to because God has given us that right, and we kind of touched on it earlier in the show, but you have a right to stand up against tyranny. And look, that includes a government that is oppressing a people, and I'm not saying we're there, but that is the purpose of having firearms. So even the part of the speech where he says, quote, police chiefs are asking our help to get weapons of war and massive ammunition magazines off our streets because they are tired of being outgunned, well, then maybe those police chiefs should better armor equip their officers. And look, I know numerous officers, and a lot of the officers that I know are not fans of gun control because they get it. I mean, they also see who's committing the crimes on the streets and how the guns are obtained and so forth. But
well, that's why so many sheriffs came out when all this started to come down, and a lot of law enforcement leaders turned out and said, hey, you know what, I'm not going to support, nor will I allow my folks to enforce unconstitutional gun laws.
Right. But, you know, look, whether you like it or not, again, individuals are allowed to own weapons of war because guess what? That is your militia. If you look up the current definition of militia, and we went through this on a show, look, you have the formal militia, which is the National Guard, and you have the informal militia, which consists of the people, specifically males aged, 17 to 45 or something like that, or age 64, 65 with prior military service, something like that. But it's it's codified in the United States Code. That is what the militia is. So, yes, people are supposed to have. And I know the other argument is, well, there was muskets back then, and
well, that's what the military had.
That was the military rifle weapon at the time. And as a matter of fact, the private citizens that brought their own guns to the fight, specifically, I can think of the Green Mountain Men utilized rifles, which is a more devastating weapon
than the musket ever was.
It's more accurate, able to deliver more accurate fire at a longer range. So that is a more devastating weapon than what was the standard military issue at the time. So I have a couple issues with this, and again, that may not make you feel good, but that's what it is. And now, look, I'm not saying that I don't believe that violent felons should own guns, because hey, once you've demonstrated that you're unable to that you want to take the rights and liberties away from others, then guess what? Your rights and liberties can now be restricted. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with background checks.
Right.
I have no problem with legislation that requires firearms to be locked up and secured when children are present or be unloaded. I have no problem with that. Because there are states now that they have where you can get in and have access to your weapon to defend your family very quickly. So I have no issue with that type of legislation. But when it comes to outlawing specific weapons because they look mean or because they're military style, yeah, I have a major issue with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had somebody ask me, so if somebody wanted to buy an F-16 fighter and put missiles on it, should they be able to? And my answer was yeah. They absolutely should.
We would absolutely love to be able to do the show from the deck of the Sackheads aircraft carrier.
Absolutely.
You know how much fun that would
be?
be?
That would be great.
Because I would like nothing more than to be able to fish in the middle of a show and pee into the ocean on a break.
And
those two things alone.
If we had a Sackheads aircraft carrier, I would apply for letters of marque,
right?
Which Congress can still issue,
absolutely,
and the president can still sign, right?
Yeah, we can head over to Somalia.
Yeah, take the aircraft carrier over to Somalia, and then the Navy could focus on more important things.
Right, absolutely. And even for our guests, our show fans, we could go all over the country and go port to port to port and do our show live in front of people.
Absolutely.
Literally, we could fit, 5, 6, 7 people that would show up on that thing without any sort of a problem. We could feed them. There'd be enough bathrooms for it. People could spend the night on it, and we'd never see them. How could that be a bad idea?
No, I think it's a great idea.
Why haven't any other radio shows with the following like ours come up with this idea yet?
I don't think we could fit our following on a paddle boat.
No, that's not true.
No, that is true.
We probably could fit most of them on a paddle boat, depending on the weight restriction. Because if I'm on it, that automatically sends other people off.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe I should be in a dinghy in the back. It's kind of my spot on the show anyways. No, I agree with you. He's pushing the emotional argument. He wants everyone to have that emotional argument. He wants everyone to be upset. He had those people planted in there. And I hate to say it, but they were political ploys, and I'm sorry for their loss and the fact that loved ones were taken from them, but they were taken by other people. And he's trying to get away from having the real argument of what's the intent of the Second Amendment and what's it for, and he wants to have the emotional argument against firearms.
Right, and that's the issue I have. Look, if we're talking about background checks to ensure criminals don't hit, no problem. But how do you define a criminal?
Well,
is the criminal somebody who steals a Snickers bar because they're hungry and they get popped?
We talked about this before too.
Right, got a criminal who can't own a gun, or maybe it was their second time committing a theft like that, and so now in California,
they were 18 and 19.
Prior is a felony. And so now they can't own.
We had that argument on the show. What was it, about a month ago? We had that discussion. Is how far-reaching is that? You've had a felon, a white-collar crime. You've never gotten a parking ticket or whatever, but it's like Office Space. All of a sudden, you figure out a code that you can steal a penny on a percentage, and it ends up being a ton of money. Right. Is that a violent criminal? No, but it's a felon.
If that guy does his time in a federal penitentiary or whatever, gets off his probation, parole, or whatever.
That's an argument to maybe be had someday.
Should that person be able to exercise that right?
The other interesting point,
and you know what, that would go for voting also.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're a nonviolent felon who commit I could see maybe an argument there, because you would maybe, try and elect people that would, but I don't know. If you're a nonviolent, I think an argument can be made there. I don't know. That's one I'm willing to have right now because I haven't really thought it through. I just kind of opened my mouth first without.
What? You? Never.
I know. No, I never.
My other problem that he had is, did he say that young lady was killed a mile from his home in Chicago?
That can't be right because I'm sure he would come from the safest city in
First
the world.
Of all, he organized that community before he was a senator.
Right, and if Chicago...
And with the gun laws it has...
It has to be the bastion of safety and security.
Right. So, wouldn't his buddy Rahm Emanuel be kind of responsible then?
No, I'm not going to say that any elected official is responsible for somebody's...
No, I just want to twist it around too.
No, you know what? Because we don't do that on the show.
Come on, just every once in a while you have to let me.
Yeah, I know.
Funny part about Chicago, they're responding to their police department's now only responding to like fewer types of calls because the delay from 911 was so long and they're so short-handed and they have such high crime in the city that they have to start eliminating the calls they will actually physically respond to in order to free officers up for more violent in-progress crimes. Which
wow.
I understand why they do it. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be doing it. Doesn't that tell you something's wrong in your city, though?
It should.
And Chicago is a pretty big police department, I believe.
Yeah.
But if you're responding, if crime got that bad that you have to that you have that many officers.
So wait a second. If crime is that bad to where they're responding to a hot call in progress, violent crime in progress, and they happen to see another violent crime in progress on the way, and they can't even stop. I mean, that's a problem.
Right. Right. And on the way to that crime, they're a victim of a violent crime.
Right.
Like their tires are stolen off the car at a red light or something. Something's going on in
and
Chicago.
Gunshots are going into their hood. I mean, it's, yeah.
Oh, man, but that tells you something's wrong. But I don't understand because they have outrageous gun control in Chicago. He organized that community before he left it. It should be the safest, happiest place. It should be like Disneyland without the admission fee.
No, but there is an admission fee. It's called taxes.
Oh, right.
And that
but if I don't live there, worse. Oh, no, I still am paying sales tax. Huh. No, you're right. I get hosed either way. You get the hotel tax, the travel tax, the airport tax.
Right.
That's a good point. Well, I guess I'm never going to Chicago.
Again.
Come on, now everyone knows I've been there.
Yeah, I would go to Chicago for one reason. I want to go see the Cubs play at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, no, the nostalgia aspect of that would be worth risking my life.
Just for baseball.
Just for baseball.
But for anything else, no way.
No way. Absolutely not. And Chicago has great food. I love the food in Chicago. They
like the pizza.
Majority of the people are actually really nice, cool people. It's a fun city, but again, toughest gun control in the country. One of the highest violent crime rates. Weird how those numbers keep lining up that way.
You're not making any sense right now. You're like an Acme World, I can tell.
Acme World. We got to figure out something to do on the new website that has Acme World in it. Like every time that he gives a speech that's not part of reality, we should put it under like Acme World, and then we'll put the YouTube speech up underneath that, and we'll just change it periodically. What do you think? Sacco, can we do that?
No.
Why not?
Too much work.
It's too much work. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our hard-charging producer and engineer, Sackhead Sacco. Thanks, kid. That's all I got tonight.
You know what? I'm tired. I'm done. I'm calling it.
We're calling it a night. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, it's been a pleasure to be back. I missed not being around you guys last week. Sacco, good to see you, sir.
Wonderful as always. Outstanding work on the website.
Looks awesome. Check it out if you haven't been there.
Now we will have another task to beat you with and to consume your life while we sit and eat bonbons and make jokes.
They're poopy jokes, though. I mean, really.
They are funny. I will be the first to admit. Thank you. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're well. Hopefully you continue to recover.
Thank you.
And happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too, my friend. Start it there. We might as well end it there. Check us out at sackheadsradio.com, on Facebook /SackheadsRadio. We're on Twitter at Sackheads, and of course we are on Blog Talk Radio. We'll see you next week, folks. Thank you.
The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly, but then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard-to-recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com. The future is a hefty responsibility and not one that we take lightly, but then taking things lightly has never been what Hefty is about. That's why we've created the Hefty Renew program that turns hard-to-recycle plastics into valuable resources like park benches and building materials. To participate, simply fill up an orange Hefty Renew bag with accepted items, tie it up, and drop it in with your regular recycling. That's it. It's that easy. It's time to rethink recycling with Renew. Particular valued resources may vary by geography. More info available at heftyrenew.com.